the idea that I didn't learn how to swim, so I want to make sure my children learn how to swim. And when I first saw your title, I thought of Dory from Disney, Finding Dory and Finding Nemo, because one of my favorite sayings is to just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. It's such a principle for life to just keep going and to never get up so that you can get there. Hi, it's Tiffany Lorraine Galloway, certified high performance coach with another episode of the Resilient Mother podcast. Today, my guest is Cori with Calm Within Adult Swim. So it may sound like we're going to be talking about adults here, but really we're talking about resilience and overcoming fear and what tools you need to do that. And then you can be the role model for your kids and raise the next resilient generation. And Lord knows they need it with everything in the world and all the changes today. So let's give moms all the tools and kids all the tools. Happy mothers, happy children, happy homes being the goal. Cori, thank you so much for being here. Please tell me more about you.
Thank you for having me. Yeah. So as you said, I work with adults primarily in teaching them how to overcome fear in water, teaching the half of adults who don't know how to swim. But it is in this framework that is about reducing the overwhelm, understanding how to get your safety from yourself, how to be able to come to calm in order to, move forward with what you want in your life. So key and pivotal when you're parenting, right? How do I bring myself in when it seems like this is, a big thing happening? I got to rein it in so that I can do that next thing.
And you're talking about the internal stuff. Like, I think a lot of people underestimate mindset. Our mindset and the inner work that we do really has the power to create the life that we want. And that also means that we have the ability to overcome fear, because we're creating the fear if we don't realize it or not. And that fear may be something very instinctual in us, that I don't know how to swim. If I'm in water, I'm going to die. and so it can feel very real, and it may have some real reality to it. But sometimes our mind, to protect us, will take us to the extreme, and we're kind of wired that way. And so what's the first step with something in your life that feels like, I'm going to die, or you just have this really maybe over-triggered reaction to something, whether it's in parenting or fear of water or something like that? It's the same. It applies. Where do we start?
Absolutely, for sure. Yeah. So we do. I love that you brought it home to the key thing. It's in the mind first, right? I get a student who's sitting next to the pool and they're already feeling anxious. And it's because their mind has gone to, well, what am I going to do when I'm in the middle of the ocean? When I fall off that boat? And we miss the reality of, hang on, I'm sitting next to a pool and I have air and I am safe.
Yep.
And I do want to make, maybe the goal is to swim in the ocean, but that's really far away and a big thing. I mean, we do this all the time to our small children. Like, I want them to grow up and go to college and move out of the house. And right now we're doing potty training.
This is going to be college. Okay.
Right. Like, how are they ever going to clean up their own bathroom and take care of their own house if they can't use the toilet right now? Okay. Right. We have to come back to the reality of, I remember so clearly when my kids were little and we were in that preschool sort of area, and the teacher saying to us parents in a parent education class, there are no children who go off to college not knowing how to use the toilet. They're all, barring the exception, very rare exception that you have some sort of physiological thing going on. But by and large, they're all going to learn how to do it.
Right.
And when we go into that experience going, okay, just, I can take a breath and really believe in this for my child. The pressure's off that kid, off of you. This is what we see in the water, right? Okay, I can take the pressure off that future thing and come back to the present, because that's where I really have charge, right?
Yes.
And really can bring in the information that I need. In the case of swimming, it's, I'm safe right now. I can breathe. I have air, right? There's nothing going wrong with my little toddler who is still figuring out the whole toilet thing. It might be annoying to me, but it's still figure outable.
I have a framework that I use, and it starts with I can create my own safety being one of the key things, because we think we need other people, we need circumstances to be perfect, or we need a certain model to follow in order to feel safe. When the truth is, under all circumstances, we have the power to feel safe, and we can create that ourselves with our mindset and what we think about, because we'll have this emotional, biological reaction to things. There's a tiger in front of me, I'm going to have that reaction. But then I get to choose, what does it mean? Now, wait, is that tiger in a cage? Is that tiger on the television screen? The tricky thing is our mind doesn't know the difference between what we see visually as being real or not. So when we expose ourselves to certain things, we can be setting ourselves up for failure. If we're overstimulating ourselves with things that are fearful, that are traumatic, that are violent, we're just desensitizing ourselves because it's real to our mind. And that also means when we close our eyes and we visualize something, it's real. So it goes both ways. And so I can see with swimming, if you've triggered yourself the minute to see water and you go watch movies about sharks eating you because you can't swim, you're not helping yourself, right?
No.
You got to set yourself up for success. Go read about someone who overcame. One of my favorite things is to read biographies, because there's always something in the human spirit that is able to overcome great things. Or you think you know someone, but you don't know the journey that got them there. And there are very few people didn't have some kind of journey or obstacle that they need to overcome and show up consistently to get to where they are today and to become who they were meant to be. So I think sometimes we also just need to accept that this challenge is there for us and for our good. And even if it's not easy and it's not fun at the time, it's also so we can serve someone else. And that might be your child. I found that some of the biggest struggles I've gone through, I may have once asked why, and now through my kids, I'm like, oh, that's why.
I needed that there. Yeah. I love that you bring up that safety, that piece of, we create our own safety in our mind, and our experience, right? And I do, we do a lot of that in the water of, are you willing to experience? Are you willing to feel what it feels like to have your face wet, and to all the different components? And it's only when we're willing to feel it that helps people come to a more neutral place, so that they can realize, oh, I get to decide what it means when there's water on my face or water in my eyes or in my nose, or, all the places. The other thing we work on with students is, it's not just crafting their own safety, but that they are at the one who sets themselves up for the safety. We have a lot of times that people will say, well, I'm safe because of the wall. I'm safe because of the floor. And I always empower people to say, yeah, but the wall and the floor never know when you need air. It never knows when you need to, it actually comes from within you, that from within you, you said, I need air, therefore I'm going to stand up. And so you use the tool. It's a tool. So we have lots of tools out there, and we never give ourselves credit for putting these tools in our lives, for using the tools, right? We give the credit to the tool or to that external thing, instead of, no, it was my own internal knowing and internal empowerment that I put that tool available to myself, or use that tool in an appropriate time. And I think it's so helpful for people to really give themselves credit, like listening to a podcast like this, right? Like, this is a tool for somebody to learn more and to, change how they approach their parenting. And you're the one who turned on the podcast and said, yes, I'm listening to it. I'm going to glean something and bring a little something into my life, right? So we should feel really good about that.
And I think what you're talking about is realizing what you have control of and what you don't. Do you control the wall? Do you control those other things? You only control you. And you alluded to it earlier about not being in the future of what could happen, or in the past of maybe what happened, depending on where the sphere of water comes from. You could have had something happen when you were young that triggers this. You only have this moment. You're in control of yourself in this moment, nothing else. And so when you choose a tool in this moment, absolutely, we need to celebrate those wins more, of making the right choice in this moment to move forward, whatever that next right course of action is for you to get to your goal, whether that seems close or far at the time. You're taking the step, and the journey always starts with that first step.
It does. Starts with that first step. And it starts with being very, very kind to ourselves when we see, oh, I wish I would have taken that step, but I took that one.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
now I know.
Yeah.
Now I know. I have information, right? That's the other thing. That's that like coming back to neutral on whatever those circumstances are. I wish I wouldn't have yelled at my kid like that. But okay, now I know that felt terrible. That wasn't useful. That didn't get the outcome that I really actually wanted, to have that connection or to help them learn what they wanted to learn. But okay, I caught myself. I learned from that. I'm a new person too, and I get to move forward with that empowerment instead of that as shame. We get to choose how we want to move forward with that.
I think this is so important when it comes to teenagers, because I honestly feel like with my teenager, I don't know what I'm going to get every day, and what worked yesterday did not work today. So I'm glad somebody told me a couple of things with kids. One, they're all going to be different. So you're not doing anything wrong if they're different. And two, with teenagers, it's going to be different every day. They're developing, they're figuring out who you are. The best thing you can do is hold space for them to recognize this exact thing. They're in control of this moment and themselves and nothing else. And they're really having to figure it out at a higher level with hormone changes, body changes, the peer group that they're in, just life in the future and what it's going to be. And so that at least helps me, especially when I could get really hard on myself and be like, I should know how to do this. Like this worked yesterday. Why don't I know what's going to work today? And that's not what I meant. And why did they take it that way? And we want to do what's best for our kids. And I think what's important is giving them our time and our love. I think Mother Teresa puts a beautiful way of that kids will, they don't need presents. They'll forget those. They'll grow out of toys, but time and love is something that they will always need. But that's also something we need to give ourselves, because that's what empowers and lets us create our lives, is to slow down, to calm down, or at least know what does that. If you don't know that, you need to go explore that, because it's different for everybody too, so that you can show up in the way that you want to show up in each moment.
Yeah. I know for me, my best parenting moments, when I don't really have a plan of how it's going to go, but I had the wherewithal to pause and to connect to what was most important. And just what you said, it's the love, right? It's just connecting care and love for myself, and then care and love for my child, right? It doesn't mean, and I agree, especially with the teenagers. I've got one who's still a teen, but off at college. But so I get a little more space for that calming, but it's still, I do have to remember, just to drop down. And that is the most important thing. And when I do that, then I can engage in that messy middle with them, which is really what teenagers need. They need some boundaries and structures, right? We're not going to, no, if you've got X number of speeding tickets, you don't get the car anymore, right? Yes. That's the boundary.
Yeah, that's a good one.
But I can have a loving conversation and an empathetic conversation of how stressful that is, or upsetting it is, or, whatever, all the things that go with it. I can hold a boundary and then just connect with love. And then we get to be in that messy space with them. I think
I love that phrase, messy middle, because every journey is going to have a messy middle. Every healing, everything, sometimes it's going to feel like 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. How do you keep people encouraged when they're at that point of their journey?
Well, when I go back into the pool metaphor, we actually do tell people every time that you come to the pool, you start at the beginning. Let yourself start at the beginning every single time. Because what happens is you solidify the pieces that are good, and you discover pieces that you didn't know were there to discover the first time. And I think of that, with that parenting. Okay, I ground myself in the love, right? And then I'm there to discover like what there is, even if I'm going over this over and over again. It doesn't mean that you're going backwards. It just means that you're establishing a way of being, a way of doing something, and it excels you because you have this good foundational piece that helps you grow out, instead of having this, you do something once or twice, it's not very strong, it's not very solid yet, right? Yeah. So just keep knitting this foundation together over and over again.
And that's my understanding of how the brain works, and that how we rewire it is we're recreating a pathway. And it was interesting listening to you telling them to go back to the beginning. I do some acting on the side, and I memorize pretty quickly, probably because of songs and from different things, but repetition has been absolutely key. But I always will go back to the beginning and see how far I can get before I'm memorized. And then I'll go back to the beginning, because I can't start in the middle or somewhere else, because then I might miss a piece in the beginning. But that going from the beginning to the end and making sure I do it until it's right at least 3 times, I've gotten all the way through without a mistake, then I know the pathways there and my brain's going to be able to pick it up. And then I get to internalize the character and become something. So I think you have to create the path, you have to create the pattern or break the pattern, reestablish the pattern, and then you have to live into it, because it's one thing to like correct a pathway and then not utilize it.
That's good. Yeah. I love that last piece there. We talk about that a lot, that people like go in and do it and then they never revisit it. I'm like, stay in it for a while. That's really where I find the magical discoveries happen too. We like that like high at the beginning of doing something new and interesting. And then we expect that it's going to be at that level of interest the whole time. But like you say, repeating the path, doing those lines over and over again is kind of that messy middle that may not appear as forward progress, but you have to do that work. I think of a ladder. When you climb a ladder, you have to do this work to raise your foot to the next rung in order for your head to rise, but you don't see any rise of your head during that part. And so much of parenting, I think, really is about that they don't have these big developmental milestones that kind of are obvious, but you're doing that work of rising the foot from one level to the next and keeping in tune with what's that consistent message that we're putting through.
And what's really important today is the fact that we have a lot of instant gratification, and it is not creating deep pathways in the brain or connections. And so I think the fight today as a parent is to make sure that we understand the psychology that's being used against us in the world today, and help our children to understand how to create the right pathways and to make them super strong by reinforcement and positive mindset and in the inner work and in the choices that we're making, because otherwise they become whatever they're seeing, this outside validation that it's very superficial. And so then they begin to believe that their worth is only based on how many likes they have, how much of a following they have, or just the attention that they're getting. And it may not be for the right reasons. Or they believe that a goal is achievable overnight because all they're seeing is the success. They're not seeing all the work and all of the hours that somebody had to put in to get to that point. Not everybody shows the journey to get there. And that's something I'm having to talk about a lot with one of my kids is not holding themselves to unrealistic standards that they're just going to get it the first time. That's not how it works. And whoever they're comparing themselves to, I promise you, that's not how they got there. That's not how they achieved what they wanted to achieve. You can't just decide, I'm going to train for a week and then go audition to be a cheerleader. That's not how it works. For example, if you want to be a good singer, if you want to be good at the guitar, if you want to be a good reader, if you want to be a good writer, any of those things takes I think it's 7 years dedication to anything to master skill and have mastery of it. And so I have a daughter right now who she's kind of like me, Jill of all trades, could do anything she puts her mind to. And I keep seeing her move from this thing to that thing to that thing to that thing because she's above average for it. And so she's like, oh, I should do this. I should do that. I should do that. And we've been having a lot of conversations lately about what do people say you're the best at? What are you getting complimented on? Pay attention to those things and pick one thing to master first. Because instead of thinking I got to go all these directions, if you master one, then you've mastered one. And then you can layer the next one and you can layer the next one. And as she thinks about college and these different things too, it's what do you want to do to support yourself and then have the opportunity to do things that you love that may or may not take off. Or at least have enough passion for the one thing that you're going to follow, the one path. Don't think that you can be everything and do everything. And I think in the world today, some of the kids get confused that they think they can do everything and be everything because they think that's what other people are doing. But they aren't necessarily doing that. They're building off of one success and then having the ability to branch off in other directions. I think with swimming, I think with anything we approach as a goal, it's really important to go, okay, how badly do I want that goal and why? How many hours is it actually going to take of dedication to that and how often? And then am I really willing to do that work to meet that goal? Because I think it's easy to say some goal. And I've been like I've done this, sorry, to people. I really want to make sure that what I say, I have integrity on, I'm going to follow through on. But I used to be a people pleaser, right? So I used to say, kind of fawn into whatever somebody else said I could do or wanted to do or wanted to be. And I've had to switch to that internalness. So I think kids today really have to understand the internal. Is this really aligned with me? Is this really going to help me meet my long-term goals? Am I really willing to commit to it or not? Because what you focus on, your energy will go towards. And it's a lot easier if you're focusing on one thing at a time, not 5 things at a time. So do you find that in the swimming process? How does that relate to the process that you do?
Well, one of the things that we really work on with folks is to understand that kind of, what is it that you want out of this? What is it? How is it that you see this? And very rarely, now sometimes people are saying, well, I do want to go do a triathlon or something. And so that does take a certain kind of mastery of the skill. But we also make sure that we put into whatever the goal is that we kind of talk about and think about, well, how do you want to feel when you've achieved the goal? So you've achieved the goal. Who are you then? How does that feel? And if you're not practicing that along the way, the likelihood of you actually being that at the end, you might be able to tick the box off. I have people I have people who come to me who've done triathlons. They can do the thing, but they don't feel like a swimmer. They don't have an ownership over it. They don't have a calm confidence about it that they want to have, an inner security that they want to have as part of it. So that is a big key piece that we put in there of, I don't want to just get across the pool. I want to know that I'm safe. I want to have that internal piece. I want to be, and that is back to that, how we're speaking to ourselves. I want to feel good about myself and this accomplishment. If you're practicing on the way, beating yourself up and not being kind to yourself or loving or generous or these kinds of things, well, just because you got there doesn't mean you're going to think or feel differently. We have to have both of those things go along the way. And sometimes the reason why we do it ultimately is because we want to just feel good and it be fun. So I love what you said, helping your child think about crafting a future, but there also is a piece of enjoying your life.
Yes.
Right? And enjoying the process and enjoying what you're doing. And it is okay to go in and dip your toe into something and play around with it, not with the expectation that you're going to be mastering it, but that you go in to enjoy life and to know maybe the difference. This is the thing that I want to give more time and attention and really develop. And this is something I want to check out and enjoy and play with and have fun with.
I'm glad you pointed that out. It's like, I do art and I've had people go, why don't you go to school for that? And it's like, because if I had to do it for a living, I actually found out because I did some designs for people. And when it became work, it wasn't as enjoyable and I wasn't as creative with it. So I knew right there that needed to be a hobby. And so, with swimming, I think that's a very specific goal and there's a lot of good reasons for that. But any goal that we make, I really like how you hit on that. It's like, we are allowed to explore this beautiful world with curiosity and explore everything. And that's what children do. And that's why they have so much joy for life is, I get to experience this for the first time, or wow, look at that. And keeping that curiosity and that imagination and that joy for life is absolutely essential to be a piece of whatever we do. And so I'm glad you brought that up.
And that builds up that resilience, right? That resilience to be able to go in and try something and play with something and not seeking, like you say, like art or swimming, any of these things that they don't have to be a particular way. It's not about producing something for somebody else to appreciate or somebody else to evaluate, right? It's for your own internal resilience of going out and learning and being in a process and being in that messy middle. And you will learn and grow as a human, which will go into all of the other areas of your life. So it's super important for us to foster that space. It's all right. I'm a big cougher.
Oh my God, where did that come from? Let's go like this so I know where it is in the thing. Maybe. Do you have an example of a student or just a story of resilience that you'd like to share to kind of wrap up as we get towards the end here?
Yeah, I think about Rhonda, who is my best hug I have ever had, right? She always had this dream of being able to jump off the back of the boat and snorkel and swim in Hawaii. And we got to do that. But that is coming from a place when she was a teenager, camp counselor, and after the kiddos are in bed, the teenage camp counselors are down by the water, and they went in the water, and she had an experience of, thought she was waiting, but the bottom went out. And so suddenly she was literally in over her head and had to be rescued. So she spent a lot of years being resilient in the way of not letting that define her. And making sure her children learned how to swim. So that might be a theme that is here among the parents, making sure their children know how to swim, because I don't know how to, and I don't want to pass that on. But yeah, by the time she got in retirement, she's like, okay, it's time for me to actually swim with my grandchild instead of, just forcing him to go do, and trying to hide her own fear, really, so that it didn't pass on to the next generation. So amazing to get to go to Hawaii with her, because we take students to Hawaii. I'm going next week, actually, for my birthday. But to realize anytime I can still do it. And she's still an inspiration, not to her kids now, but to her grandkid.
And that could apply to anything that you want to become. Our children will only aspire to what we aspire to be. So if you say you have a dream, you got to live up to it, because why do you get your dream and they don't get theirs? You can't do it. It's kind of reverse psychology if you don't practice what you preach in a lot of ways. And we're all a work in progress, but your story and your framework shows how it's possible. And when we're the example of that, then our kids will pleasantly surprise us with the tools that we gave them, whether we realize they were listening or not. They're listening, they're watching, and often what your actions are speak a lot louder than your words. And I've seen that over and over again with my kids, for better or for worse, because I'm human too. I'm not perfect, and they still have dreams. I still have goals I haven't achieved yet, but that's part of the journey. Is we all want to be making progress. We're going to make progress towards those dreams and towards those goals. And we're here to help each other. So if you need help with swimming, we've got Cori here, or just to learn this framework in general and see where you can apply it. I love the idea that I didn't learn how to swim, so I want to make sure my children learn how to swim. And when I first saw your title, I thought of Dory from Disney, Dory and Finding Nemo, because one of my favorite sayings is to just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. It's such a principle for life to just keep going and to never get up so that you can get there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's fun to swim.
Yes, water is fun. Pretending to be a mermaid under the water, one of my favorite things as a kid. So if people want to find you, where can they find you to work with you?
Yeah, so on social media, we're Calm Within Adult Swim. So you can go to our YouTube page and watch lots of videos, or Facebook, Instagram. And then we're adultswimlesson.com if you want to look at our courses and retreats and go to Hawaii.
I'm curious how long a program is to do the Hawaii part, because I'm sure that perked a few people's interest.
Yeah, so we do a learn to swim. We usually do a 3-day learn to swim, and then we also do a 5-day learn to swim in the ocean. So kind of depends on which class, but yeah.
Awesome. Any last thoughts as we wrap up?
Sorry. Oh, that caught me off guard. Any last thoughts as we wrap up? My brain wants to just say no. Sorry.
That's okay.
Something pithy. Hope you got that part out.
Oh, I can edit this whole thing. I'll just put edit. It's fine. I got my coffee and fit in there, so it's going to need some attention. So.
Okay, good. Sorry. I don't know why I lost it there.
No, it's quite all right. So thank you so much for sharing. I hope this inspires somebody somewhere to know that there's tools out there for anything, overcoming fear and being resilient. And swimming is another aspect that we brought you today on the Resilient Mother podcast. I hope you found a tool, a principle, or at least one thing you can apply today to become the resilient mother you always wanted to be. We'll see you next time. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us today. Please don't forget to subscribe so we can share this message. We are a worldwide podcast with guests all around the world, and we want to continue to grow this community. You can find us on socials. You could also be a guest. Look for that link below if you'd be interested in being a guest on the podcast. If you know a sponsor or would like to be a sponsor, please reach out to me or Catherine as well.
Sure. We want you all on this journey. We want to hear your stories. We want to share your stories. We want to gain strength from each other because together we're stronger. And to never forget the blessing of being a mother and what we're creating. We're creating the future every single day of our lives. So get on this train with us and let's do this thing, moms.
I believe in you. Believe in yourself. God bless. And we'll see you around. Take care.